Hello everyone, I'm sorry I'm not there today, but as a nice present for you all, I'm going to translate from line 46. I thought actually I'd do it down to line 66 as a special Friday treat to help you to get through as much as you can for the next lesson, and all the very best today with International Women's Day celebration, particularly obviously Steph and Inayat. I hope it goes wonderfully well. It will go wonderfully well for you, and I'm very sorry that I can't be there to help out and to enjoy it with all of you. One of my daughters is not feeling very well, so I have to be home with her today, and she has to go and have a COVID test. Okay, Urbem Syracusas elegerat. Let's start off with that bit. He selected the city of Syracuse. So we begin with that bit. He selected the city of Syracuse, connecting relative quios, of whom, of which, as in whose location, and setting, we could say for natura, and climate, is said to be literally such that, is said to be this, that, but is said to be such that. So we actually have here a result clause that never has there been a day of such a violent, that there has never been a day of such a, I've said violent and turbulent storm, that people, that someone could not, that people, that homines could not viderent, or did not see the sun, see the solem, at aliquo tempore, at some moment of that day. So the idea here is that he's deliberately chosen a place that is warm and nice and friendly, so he doesn't have that Roman virtus, that Roman toughness. Hic ita vivebat. The brave general, let's say for bonus imperator rather than good general, that brave general Vivebat was living here during the winter months, during the hibernis mensibus, during the winter months, in such a way that, another result clause, lots of result clause, again showing the results, I suppose, of Verres' poor character. He was living there, so that brave general was living here in such a way during the winter months that no one could see him outside his tent, that no one could videret, imperfect subjunctive as part of the result clause, could see him, that no one could see him easily outside, that no one could easily see him outside his tent or even outside his bed, that no one could facile easily see him, that it was not easy for anyone to see him, not only outside his tent, but even outside his bed. The lectum can be a bed or can be a couch that you eat in. The idea being that he's taking shelter indoors from the coolness. He's not a tough Roman. Ita day. So there's lots of in such a way. So the shortness of the day, ita, and so the brevitas, the shortness of the day, was continebator, was spent in banquets, and the length of the night. Oh, look at that, die brevitas noctis. So you've got the AB pattern here. So the shortness of the day was spent in banquets, the length of the night in debauchery and adultery. Stupris and flagitis. I'm just going to keep on going and then move on. I know that was all that you've done for today, but I want to move on just in case it might help you. Cum autem. But when spring came, but whenever spring had begun, cum plus the pluperfect, meaning whenever, we did that in the blue, but whenever spring had come, whose start, the start of which, that man did not recognize, he did not date by the west, by the Fabio, by the west wind, or by any constellation. I like this again, like a true man, like a manly man would be able to recognize it by sort of understanding nature. But when he had, so he did not date it by the west wind or by any constellation, but when he had seen a rose, said cum viderat again, but when he had seen a rose, cum plus the pluperfect again, then he would judge spring to be beginning. Then he would be judging spring, that spring was beginning. Again, actually, the notes there make it clear that the Rosa might even imply that he didn't even leave his tent then, because the roses would have been brought and scattered, because he was a decadent, debauched general, even in his tent. Dabat, he would give himself, then he would devote himself to labori, to hardship, and to travels. We're now going to find out about those travels and that they're not particularly hard. In which he proved himself, in quibus, connecting relative, in which he praebebat, he proved himself so hardy, patient, in which he proved himself so tough and patient that, did I leave one out? And energetic, yeah, in which he showed himself so tough and impigrum, and energetic, in which he proved himself so tough and energetic that that Nemo, that no one, another result clause, that no one ever saw him sitting on his horse. So again, it's the idea that he was either in his tent, or now we're going to have him carried on the lectica, on the couch, that somebody, I can't remember who, was asking me about. 4, so result clause there with a perfect subjunctive nam. 4, as was the custom of the kings of Bithynia. So again, the decadence of the kings, despised, or was deemed to be almost effeminate. It was the king of Bithynia that made that there were rumours about Caesar's sexuality, because he sort of gave himself in this debauched way to the king of Bithynia. But there was the custom, but as was the custom for the king of Bithynia, he was carried on a litter. Ferebator, he was being carried. He used to be carried. The imperfect, I suppose, tense, actually making it clear that this was a regular kind of occurrence. He was carried on a litter, carried by 8 bearers on an 8. On a lectica octaforo. I can't think of a better way. On an 8-person 8-person litter implies that there are 8 people inside it. On a litter, which is the carriage that you see in the drawing at the bottom, over here. On a litter, ferebator, imperfect. I haven't been highlighting things, sorry, and the perfect subjunctive over there. He was carried on the litter, borne by 8 people. In qua, on which, and I love to hear the imagery, in which there was a fine Maltese cushion. Really good notes here, by the way, for content and context. On which there was a fine Maltese cushion stuffed with roses. On which there was a fine Maltese cushion stuffed with roses. He himself used to, notice again the imperfect, he himself used to wear one garland on his head. It's all very un-Roman, isn't it? It's all not very tough Roman. He used to have one garland on his head, another around his neck, and he would lift a purse of the tiniest thread, of the finest thread, and he would, Admiral Waybat, he would lift the purse of a purse of the finest thread with minutis maculis, with tiny meshes. He would lift this to his nose, filled with roses. Look for all of the imagery, olfactory and visual imagery, etc., etc. Sic confector itinere. Don't forget, Ramesha, I noticed you doing it a couple of times in the unseen. When we've got ablative absolutes, we're not translating them as with something having been somethinged anymore. We're now going, having completed his journey in this way, sic confector itinere, having completed his journey thus, but having completed his journey in this way, cum pluperfect again, whenever he had come to some town, he would deferebatur, he would be carried on eadem lectica, on the same litter, right up to his bedroom. And then to that place there would come the magistrates of the Sicilians, and there would come the Roman knights. Again, check the notes for some of the content and context here, because it talks about some of the implications being made, why it would be knights, what the job was of the knights, etc., etc. Id quod. So there would come the Roman knights, which you have heard about, id quod, from the Audistis, I like it involving them again, from the many testimonies. Controversae, conversations or disputes were being brought in secret. According to the notes, again, the secrecy implies that there might have been corruption. And a little while later, they were openly, disputes were brought in secret, and a little while later, they were openly brought away. So lots of suggestion here of corruption. Paolo post palam noted the alliteration, maybe highlighting his disgust, drawing attention to the openness. I don't know. You decide. Deinde. Then, when he had dispensed justice. So deinde. Then, when he had descripserat, dispensed jura, laws, but justice in his bedroom, according to bribery. In cubiculo, according to pretio, bribery, not. So when he dispensed rules, justice, laws, rather than law, what about that? When he dispensed justice according to bribery rather than law, I didn't want to say justice twice, he would now judge that the remaining time, he used to now think that the remaining time should be devoted to Venus, i.e. lovemaking, and libero, and drinking. Again, good example there, which we haven't seen, not again, good example there of metonymy. We haven't seen it for a while. I hope you will have a wonderful long weekend. I hope this was vaguely helpful. And again, have a fantastic International Women's Day, all of you that are involved in it. And I hope especially that, Matteo, you involve yourself in the, what was it, in the not debate, but the conference, the panel discussion is the phrase I'm looking for. And I hope that you will have a great weekend. All the very best to everyone, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Can you go down to line 66, please, in today's lesson and for homework. Bye-bye.